Hello. For 5 years OBE used to be a part of my life. The starting point for the discussion about the dangers of OBE is the knowledge on the nature and existence of good and evil, the way of the sin and the truth, as well as the reality of the demonic. You don't need to convince anyone of the existence of good and evil. It's enough to look around or observe yourself in various situations. As for the way of truth and the way of sin, this knowledge reaches everyone sooner or later in their lives, and everyone will reap the fruits of the choice they have made. When it comes to the reality of the demonic and its impact on our lives, opinions differ on this issue. In my experience, this reality is as real as the recording you're listening to. You don't know me, so why would you believe me? Do not just believe, check it out yourself. You can either deny the idea or broaden your knowledge. When you become interested in this subject matter, you will see this is not a figment used to scare people off. I can guarantee that. These are not only Christians that warn us of the demons, they are present in many other religions as well. Voodoo priests, along with those practicing other forms of magic, are also known to cooperate with demons, the aim of which is to evoke specific results in other humans' life. With a little interest, you will understand that the exorcism is not a trick. All the occult knowledge is about contact with this reality. So if demons do exist, how they are related to the astral world and how they use it for their own ends, ask yourself. This follows the usual pattern of all the things that lead human beings to perdition. It's beautiful in the beginning, but at some point you get the bill. OBE is nothing but the elements of the occult techniques, even if in the beginning they seem harmless and innocent. While practicing OBE, we might think that what we experience is the result of our own vision, our own decision, but this is not the case. This is the demon that shapes our experience so that we think we have chosen it, whereas in reality, it knows our weaknesses and thus knows what to prepare for us. The tricks of the evil spirit are nothing but the swamp disguised as a beautiful meadow, which is something we often learn too late after we die. The second point is a sin, a conscious thought or action that leads, directly or indirectly, to harm and suffering of other beings. The sin makes us hideous creatures with whom it's hard to coexist. Those who believe in God and know the law find it much easier to fight against the sin. A man left to his own devices is a weak creature, and hence we have a law, which is supposed to protect us from bad people as well as prevent us from committing evil acts. In OBE, unfortunately, there is no such law. The demon can set the whole experience so that one suddenly kills an entity or fights with it, despite being here, in the material world, a benign person. Having partners in material world does not prevent us from having sexual intercourses in astral world, including same-sex intercourses, even though we are not homosexuals, and these are the acts committed by us voluntarily, the only difference lying in the fact that we do it in the astral, not the material world. We consider these acts wrong in the material world, so why in the astral one do we not mind them anymore? Jesus, the spiritual leader of the greatest of religions, said that man already sinned at the level of thought, and OBE is much more than just a thought. It is an act committed knowingly. And so, step by step, we become killers or rapists. Of course, it depends on the individual, but nevertheless, becoming more and more absorbed by the sin stands as one of the dangers. Thrusting oneself deeper and deeper into a sin stands as one of the dangers. The third point is our nature. It often happens that a person experiencing the sensation considers himself or herself to be someone better, someone chosen, but in reality they are ill. They just don't know it. This person acquires pride, which is a nasty trait. Entities that contact the person talk about things related to him and often, through various questions, lead the person to draw certain conclusions or directly tell him that he is special. In fact, When confronted with reality, all those wonderful things burst like a bubble as they were not real in the first place. The person didn't develop them but was led to believe that he possessed those features of character. Such a person lives in two different worlds, and whether he wants it or not, starts to be regarded by the environment as eccentric, strange and unusual. He becomes indifferent, withdrawn, introverted, does not get engaged in reality as there is no reason for it. With all the secrets of the universe they have uncovered and the feeling of being 3 steps ahead of everyone else, that leads to alienation and a desire to escape from this seemingly boring world, which, in turn, results in a problem of social exclusion. A person is no longer understood by others, has peculiar interests, his own secrets, or gradually turns into someone perceived by the environment as a madman. He gradually withdraws from other people, families fall apart, spouses begin to live in 2 different worlds since it is OBE that comes first. The person shuts themselves in his room trying to leave, which results in many bad nights of sleep. That also has negative influence on his personality and thus on his relationship with the environment. Unsuccessful attempts to leave the physical body add to their frustration. The 4th point relates to those dangers that cannot be verified in the material world. People often get involved in something without checking who is coming up with the idea, what their aims and intentions are, what is behind it, as well as how their engagement into OBE started. People tend to get excited just because they've read a book and had a forum chat, even though they might feel that there's something wrong or evil about that. They deny it and indulge in it as the reality is grey. It comes as a surprise that one may write a book in the USA and we, being here, immediately recognize it as something wonderful and positive, as the truth. Is it really safe out there, and do we always come back? Those who don't are no longer alive, so they cannot share their story and confirm that it is really possible to become separated from the body, remain wandering in the unknown and not return. Control over one's body is yet another issue. It is said that it's impossible for anything to enter a body, but if we are able to leave it and enter it again, and if demonic possessions do exist, we cannot be certain that nothing will enter the body and slowly, imperceptibly take control over our psyche and health. This is not verifiable. Those of you who have experienced OBE, think whether you have ever come down with an inexplicable illness in unusual circumstances and become deprived of all your vital energy. Well, it has happened to me. I think that something in me has done it. Astral larvae are real, and I dare say they get installed in our heads, or perhaps another spiritual being connects with the person, causing vibrations, during which it leaves the body. It often happens that in the astral world entities do something to people without their knowledge. They put something into human bodies claiming that it is for their own good. Of course, angels of love in disguise wouldn't hurt us, but is this really true? The 5th point relates to the changes in our psyche. There are people who, after an extended period time with OBE experiences, lose their sense of reality and need to test it in order to check which world they're in, the OBE world or the material one. We start living our dreams instead of living in reality. Sleep gradually becomes problematic. Indifference to material world leads to apathy, and we lose the desire to shape our lives. You accept things to which you would have once strongly protested. You become addicted to OBE, which takes control of you. It often happens that the sensations are rather unpleasant, and that also leaves a mark on your psyche. A lot of people begin to question the very existence of good and evil. They seem unable to notice what actually happens around them, and the very fact that their decisions can be either good or bad. There are people who become absolutely convinced that they talk to God himself. They start to consider themselves special, chosen. They believe that they have some supernatural powers or develop some hidden talents. It doesn't occur to them that there are people who have achieved much higher level of humanity and holiness. who are willing to give or sacrifice their lives for others and are able to forgive anything, and those people are real authorities. People forget that OBE stands as one of the tools for spiritual growth, or yet another sense to get information about the world around us. The last aspect is the spiritual sphere. Astral projectors often equate spiritual growth with the amount and intensity of experiences, as well as the quality of contacts with astral deities or the length and distance of travel. But it is a lie. These things only move them away from reality and do not develop the spirit. One cannot develop an attitude of willingness to sacrifice for another human being in the astral world. No egoist will be transformed into an altruistic person there. Rather, you might expect opposite results, being driven further away from the truth and holiness, from the true spiritual development. They will leave the world as liars, misers, cowards, or conceited creatures with little interest in others, able to talk about journeys they've had. Still, no one on the other side would want to listen to their stories, since all that they would want to know is what good they had done with their lives on earth. They shall die in sin without being aware of that. We become a toy in the hands of much more powerful and intelligent beings. We can be manipulated and pulled away from the true spiritual development. After some time it will become almost impossible to mentally return on the right path, because our experience will contradict the truth, which will become incomprehensible, too complicated and archaic, unacceptable. You will become employees of astral deities and demons. You will involve others in the spiritual psychic abyss because you will be thinking that it is about salvation for the world. Some of you might spend all your lives doing that. Others will realize earlier that something is wrong and that they have wasted a lot of time on the world of illusion. Those who manage to see what OBE really is and want to leave might expect attempts to enslave or torment them. We must be prepared for this. It will not be as much fun as it used to be. Something might try to aggressively force you out of this world and play with you on the other side, beguiling you with even more intensity. They will ask for their due for sure. Still, you can overcome that. This recording is a proof. Remember, if you persist in God, you become dangerous for the demon. In conclusion, someone might say, what kind of arguments are these? There are other things that may have similar impact on a human life. You're right, and that is why you need to be vigilant, and look for safe ways to love and happiness. To God. I draw on my experience and observation. Not all of the dangers will occur, not at once, and to not everybody, but you can be sure that, sooner or later, these are the fruits you will reap after having practiced OBE occult experiences. To those who would like to try OBE, familiarize yourselves not only with the opinions of the supporters but also the opponents. Do not ask those enthusiastic people with little knowledge about the risks which is involved. Ask those who used to practice the occult but no longer do it. Ask exorcists and find out how religion approaches the subject. Those who quit OBE, see what happens to your body, mind and spirit after you have confessed your sins, received sacraments and visited exorcists who prayed over you. It is important to be honest in this and have good intentions, to say exactly what has happened to the exorcist, and at confession, after it is done, see whether things are the same. I cannot promise anything because a lot depends on your attitude. I can only say that for me it was a big surprise. It is worth trying. It costs nothing. At most you might experience something new, and you might save your soul, because losing it is the greatest danger of all. Think about what might happen to you after you die if you continue going this way.